The best place for sunrise. Just open up your door to breathe in the sunshine. Sing with us on the porch.
Today is September 26, 2015. Joining us on the porch are local business owners Melanie and Kate Cotillo and musicians Carl Beck and Bob Freeman.
The best place for family. What are you waiting for? Where friendships run deeper. Come join us on the porch. So glad you're on the
porch. That's right, friends. You've made it a week. And now it's time to breathe and relax as we enter into the world of On the Porch Radio Hour. I am super pumped to be recording live at the Black Creek Cafe and Treasures in Mexico, New York. That journey happened quite a while ago. I came in, just kind of blew in off the street like the old Wild West tumbleweed. I just came in sounding like a siren whistle. I just came right through the door, and I ended up in the middle of the Black Creek Cafe, where it just so happened where they were starting to host an open mic. And it was myself. I was here to tell a story, and Carl Beck was here to play his harmonica. And what happened that night was magical, because I never told a story, and Carl never played his harmonica. We just sat around and talked. We talked with Carl, and we talked with Melanie and Kate, and we came up with this really crazy idea that we were going to record the radio show here. And so now we're here. And ever since I got here to start setting up the show, magical things have been happening. Like, for instance, we decided that we were going to change the Black Creek's motto to, I got sconed at the Black Creek Cafe. I'm pumped about that part. And I also, I thought it was a little premature when it came out of my mouth, but I've been envisioning this incredible thing that I want to create. I want to do a side project, and I told Carl and Bob that I want to create my own jug band, and then they were really pumped, and they wanted to know what we would call said jug band and all of the instruments that were in it. And as we started talking about it, I decided that I wanted a lot of instruments, and Bob was like, man, that sounds really like experimental. And I thought, yeah, it does. So here's my first proposed jug band name: Tin Man and his experiential tornado hands. No, not a. All right, I'll keep working on that. I'm getting the no sign from the crowd. Yes, we have a crowd at the Black Creek Cafe. This is so exciting. And here come more now. Hey, thanks for being here. We're just recording a radio show. Come on in. So here we are. And we're going to hear some sweet tunes from the Carl Beck train wreck. And we're going to interview Carl and Bob in just a few minutes. That's Carl Bob it's not Carl Bob and Beck Freeman. No. It's Carl Beck and Bob Freeman. And we're going to interview Kate and Melanie as well. But for now, Carl Beck Trainwreck, you're on the porch.
Okay. This is an old blues standard song Bob and I like to do. We hope you like it too. It's called I Got So Much Trouble. My baby left me and my mule got lame. I lost my money in a poker game. A windstorm came up one summer day, blew the house that I lived in away. I got so much trouble. I got so much trouble. I got so much trouble, it's about to drive me insane. You know, I started selling whiskey, wine, and gin. They caught me last week and last night again. Next thing you know, the sheriff came on site. He walked into my house and caught me shooting dice. I got so much trouble. I got so much trouble. I got so much trouble, about to drive me insane. You know, they carried me to jail with my pajamas on. You know, I cursed the day that I was born. They let me out and I went across town. Couldn't find my baby, she put me down. I got so much trouble. I got so much trouble. Got so much trouble, about to drive me insane. Let me tell you about it. You know, I got me a job on the city pay. Early one morning laid me off that day. Pawned my watch and I pawned my chain. I'd have pawned myself, but I was so ashamed. I got so much trouble. I got so much trouble. I got so much trouble, about to drive me insane. Well, I went to the races and I placed my bet. My hard luck, my horse ain't in yet. I went cross town after spending my dough. Even landlady changed the lock of my door. I got so much trouble. I got so much trouble. I got so much trouble, about to drive me insane. Yeah, I got so much trouble. I got so much trouble. I got so much trouble, about to drive me insane. Yeah, I got so much trouble. I got so much trouble. I got so much trouble, about to drive me insane. Thank you.
Tonight's episode of On the Porch Radio Hour is brought to you by siren whistles. From unknown origins, this mysterious yet historical instrument has blessed millions of ears with its perfect... From cartoons to radio shows to top 40 bands, the siren whistle has made its appearance and is a hit every time. This simple piece of plastic is no longer simple when it sings its harmonious tunes. Like brightly colored angels wearing party hats, bearing gifts of porcelain clown dolls, singing the hymns of tone-deaf dogs, howling at the windows of out-of-tune violin players. When you hear, and the hair on the back of your neck raises in pure delight, remember siren whistles. The instrument named after creatures that lure sailors with their beautiful sounds and then eat them. That's siren whistles. So I'm going to bring Bob and Carl back. Carl back, huh? It's actually Carl Beck and Bob Freeman. And they're the two musicians that make up the Carl Beck train wreck. So let's start where we should start, I think. Well, yeah, let's start where I think we should start. When was it that you guys got together musically?
Oh, it's been, 3 or 4 years now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how did you meet? Did you meet at a open mic?
We actually met at church.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so then you started jamming at church?
Because
that's a church I want to attend.
Bob is the leader of the worship team
Okay.
at church, and he knew I had an interest in playing, so there's been times that just him and I have got together to go out to open mics, or I've even performed with the worship team at church.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. A harmonica at church?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's not sacrilegious at all. It's actually pretty cool.
Right. Right. That is. I dig it. I dig it for sure. Okay, so you've been playing together for the last 3 or 4 years. Sundays at church, and you probably like rehearse or practice or whatever once or twice a week or something. Once a week, and you visit open mics.
Correct.
Man, so you guys are getting a lot of playing time in together.
Not enough.
Right, never enough.
Yeah.
I agree.
Not enough. As far as the open mics, we found out about the one here at Black Creek Cafe, and we would prefer the coffee house or the non-bar scene.
Yes.
That's kind of what we prefer. So this works well for us. The one up in Oswego works for us also. So
Nice. Yeah, I agree. Sometimes it's tough to be in that scene, as background music and
yeah.
all of the other things that come along with it, for sure. Now, how long, Carl? I'll start by asking you. How long have you been playing the harp?
I started in my mid-teens, nothing really serious. I had a friend who kind of introduced me to it, and I always say this about learning to play the harmonica. For the first several years, you're going to be annoying a lot of people around you. Like Bob says, it's easy to play the harmonica, not good.
Yeah, it is.
So just on and off through my life, I've picked it up when I had the right crowds around me. And the past couple of years since I met Bob, I think I've picked it up a little bit more. It's opened me up to a lot of different styles of music,
Sure.
which I can really appreciate that also.
Yeah. Just in the short time that I've been connected with you and seeing you play a few times, I feel like you've really covered a wide spectrum with your harmonica.
Yeah.
It's really cool to watch.
We like to do songs that people know, but they don't expect them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it works out well.
Nice. I'm not going to give it away, but I feel like we're going to hear one of those unexpected songs,
Perhaps.
right? Perhaps. Yeah. Let's not let the cat out of the bag, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So, and Bob, I'm going to go to you now. Now, how long have you been playing and singing?
Probably for 35 years or so.
Okay.
Yeah, I never really got really good on the guitar. I got good enough to play rhythm and back people up and maybe sing leads, but I never intended on being a lead guitarist or anything like that. So
Right.
it's just playing chords and writing songs and playing with other people who are better than I am. Actually, I used to play the harmonica as well.
Okay.
Then I ran into Carl and I realized I could put it down.
Yep,
And
yep.
trust him with that. Yeah.
Let it collect some dust.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I lost my train of thought, Bob. I had a follow-up question for you. Okay, so about 35 years. So you picked it up as a kid, right? And
Well, teenager.
okay. So what was your influence? What made you want to get the guitar?
That's a great question. Why the guitar? I think a relative gave it to me.
Okay.
I think someone gifted me an instrument, and it happened to be a guitar. You know what? I tried the piano,
Okay.
realized it was way too many keys,
Yeah. yeah.
too much stuff. And the guitar seemed simpler, and there was probably some music on the radio at the time that I really liked listening to, and I wanted to try to learn it. So
Yeah.
but this was a long time. This was back when radio was radio. So,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
So you self-taught mostly?
Yeah, I took a formal lesson, I think, when I was 12 or 13 or something. But since then, it's all been finding chords and really listening to music to see what's going on inside the song and pulling out what I want.
Okay.
Try to reproduce that part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And have you had a chance to record any of your own songs?
I have. It was with a band a while ago that we recorded some of my stuff, and I've since picked up the desire to record and write new stuff. And I've got this iPad that I can record on. So I've actually begun recording demos of some of my work. So
Nice. Good for you.
Yeah, I'm pretty
That's
excited
a lot of
about
fun. Yeah, that's really exciting. Have you? So, have you written any songs to perform at worship on Sundays?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
I feel like that would be more difficult than writing I don't know if I want to call it a normal song, but like a.
Well, you talk secular versus sacred, right?
Right.
No, to me it's not, because what I've discovered is the song it's there. The whole song is there,
Yeah.
right? And if I can find the phrase or the melody or whatever piece that needs to come out first, eventually, if I keep working at it, the rest of it tumbles out. And I've discovered that it doesn't matter if it's secular or sacred, it's there.
Yeah.
You just have to do the work to get it out.
Yeah. Well said. That's I think that makes a ton of sense, and I'm glad that I heard that. That's very cool. So how many I was going to say guys, but how many people do you perform with then on Sundays?
Just a couple, 2, 3.
Okay.
Actually, my wife plays keys. I do
Nice.
guitar, and we try to get Carl up once in a while. We're open to a bigger worship band, but this is what we have for now.
Right.
And it works.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Yeah.
That's cool. Do you know, Gina and I were touring down the East Coast, and we were in Georgia. Is that right? We were in Georgia, and we went to a church. Was it a church? Okay. I want to make sure I'm using the right language, because we've been to a lot of different places of worship, and they're all called different things. So we went to this church, and it was huge, and it had this massive stage, and they had a full band. Like, they had electric guitars and drums, and like they were really jamming, and that was an interesting experience. And so, up until that point, I had only experienced similar things to what you're talking about that you're doing, and so, the reason I'm bringing this up is because it kind of your explanation of writing a secular versus a sacred song kind of sparked that, so if the song's there and it's happening, then it's happening, and worship can happen with that. And I find that really fascinating, and it's really neat. I didn't grow up in a community where music like that was incorporated into worship. It was always organ and hymns and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate that ability for communities to be able to mix music and worship, and how much more, at least for me, how much more meaningful it makes it, and it's really cool to be able to talk to guys that are helping make that connection for people.
Well, one of the things we try to do too is we don't abandon the traditional songs, the hymns. We do hymns as well. We just kind of step it up a little bit, make it a little more contemporary, because lyrically, theologically, they're powerful words in the songs.
Yeah.
So I don't want to abandon that. And plus, the age range in our church is pretty varied. So for some of the more elderly, they're comfortable and they know those songs.
Yeah.
And we want to help them stay connected to what we're doing, so we don't just push it all out of the way.
That's right.
And we've discovered the size of the band doesn't matter, really, because I played in larger worship bands as well. It doesn't matter. You can do a variety of things if you're a good enough band, obviously in any kind of music, but you can play the type of worship you want to regardless of the size of the band.
Right.
And the bigger issue is, are people connecting? It's just like secular music, right? When you go to a concert, do you connect with the performer or not, right? That's really what the bottom line for me anyways. And it's the same thing in church. Do you connect with what's happening or not? Does it move you in some way, whether it's spiritually or otherwise? Are you moved in some way? And then you'll want to do it again.
That's right. That's right. That's great. I really appreciate that, and I think that can be applied in so many places, and I think that it should be applied in so many places and in so many ways. It's very transferable.
Yeah.
And transcendent in some ways. So I'm gonna move on from that for just a minute, but I know. So you're playing the guitar, but we were talking earlier about wanting to. Well, I was talking about wanting to start a jug band, and you were inquiring about what type of instruments, and I was labeling off like all sorts of instruments.
Yeah.
And then you started talking about how you also play the mandolin.
No, rhythm mandolin.
Yes, which I think is a nice explanation.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned woodwind instruments. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to play saxophone when I was a kid, and my son has since played and since moved out and left his saxophone behind. So Boom.
So you play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Do you find yourself kind of sticking with like a more blues kind of style, or?
Depends. When I'm writing, I'm almost exclusively now writing love songs. That's pretty much all I'm writing. In fact, the last 3 love songs I wrote for my wife, she didn't like a single one. So,
That's love.
Yeah. Which is ironic because one of the songs was about how I can't understand how a woman thinks at all. So I must have nailed that one.
Yeah. Right.
The instrument often does dictate the style for me, but right now it's just simple strumming and love songs on the guitar.
Okay. Nice. Do you get to incorporate the saxophone at all? And
But here's the thing, I hear every instrument in my head of the song I'm writing.
Yes.
I hear every single instrument,
yes,
and I can't play any of them.
I get it.
None of them.
Yeah.
Not just the guitar. That's all I can play.
Yeah.
So the demo I'm making, I'm going to cheat. All right. I'm using a lot of synthetic instruments. All right, just to get the sound I want.
Right.
And then I'm going to hand it off to someone else to actually record because I can hear it, but I can't play it.
Yeah. That's the gift, though, is being able to hear it.
Sometimes not so much.
Sometimes it's torture, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
get
hear a
stuck
harp,
there,
and I know what am I going to do with a harp?
Right. Right. So speaking of the harp, Carl, I know we're talking about different harps, but what a segue, right?
Nice.
Yeah. All right. That was a thumb. I was waving a thumb at Renee, getting the red plate. It's not special. Okay, so real quick, you play the harmonica and very well, and we were blessed to have you at our music festival, and you performed in the open mic, and you were like, I'm not going to worry about how you explain it, which you explained tonight, was I'm not going to worry about anybody backing me up. I'm just going to play the harmonica because it's the lead instrument. And that was so neat to hear, like a full-length solo on the harmonica, a full-length song, and it made total sense. And so my question is, it seems to me that you have the ability to be able to, like, if somebody's playing, you can step in and start playing the harmonica.
I try.
Right, which is not a big deal. So those songs that you played at the open mic, are those things that you just, like, you knew that song and you played the whole song, or could you, like Bob was saying, could you hear the song and you're like, oh, I can play that and do that? Like, how did that work? Were you just vamping, or?
Well, both songs that I played are known songs, and one of them is a harmonica instrumental. It's done by Jay Giles Band. It's called Whammer Jammer. So that one's kind of a given. The other one, with the invent of the internet, we have YouTube, and we can learn a lot from YouTube.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking for songs that I can play if I do end up in a situation by myself that I can play a full-length song. Years back, mid-'90s, I did take lessons from a gentleman down in Syracuse, and he was one of the bigger blues players in the area. And one thing I learned from that was a lot of the older style harmonica players, they play both the rhythm and the melody. So you can take away a lot of that backing. A lot of this started, out in the mountains and everything, where they might have only had a guitar. So to get that full band feel, you really need to play a little bit more.
Yeah.
Now, you also have to be careful about not playing too much.
Right,
Also,
right.
so that's where I've learned to, be able to take some of the songs. And again, it's a lot of it. I learn it from other people. But to take the whole song, and that's what you're really hearing, is you're hearing the rhythm along with the melody, and and that's what makes it possible to do that full length song.
Yeah. That's really neat. Thanks. I want to thank you both for being on the show, for taking time to chat with us and play some music. And I'm also going to thank you in advance because I'm gonna call you back up in a little bit to play some more.
Sure.
Is that cool?
Okay.
Sure.
Awesome. Thanks,
Great.
guys.
Thanks.
Carl Beck, Bob Freeman. The Carl Beck train wreck.
Yeah. Is that too loud, Ray? Yeah. Okay. Is that better? Still too loud. Bring it down. It's number 3. Yep. Bring number 3 down. That's gonna be good. Okay.
So the events that we're announcing right now are actually announced as of today's Saturday. So anything that's happening today is actually happening Saturday. Make sense?
You're listening to On the Porch Radio Hour. We'll be back in a minute.
This is what's happening in Central New York. The Oswego Music Hall presents Cozy Sheridan tonight at 7:30 p.m., as well as a concert with Lauren Berriger and Mark Mazengarb on October 10th. Lauren and Mark will also offer a guitar workshop prior to their performance that day. Visit oswegomusichall.org for more information. The Amboy 4-H Environmental Education Center hosts an educational program about insects tomorrow at 2 p.m. The program is for all ages and a discounted family rate is available. For more information, call Cornell Cooperative Extension of Oswego County at 315-963-7286, extension 400. Open skate sessions at SUNY Oswego resume this month. Visit oswego.edu for more information. The Central New York Great Pumpkin Festival is October 3rd and 4th. Held at Washington Park in Oswego, there are vendors, rides, and entertainment. Call 315-806-0215 for more information. The CNY Playhouse production of 9 to 5 closes tonight. For more information, visit cnyplayhouse.com. The Port City Co-op hosts an outdoor flea market at West Bridge and 2nd Streets in Oswego on the 1st and 3rd Sundays of each month from 12 to 5 p.m. For more information, contact the Port City Co-op at 315-529-5177. Upcoming events at the CNY Arts Center include the next event in the Dessert Theater series tonight at 8 p.m. with a concert from Jason Bean. The cast of Oliver will take the stage the first 2 weekends in November. There are also upcoming classes in cake decorating, and the next Writers Cafe is the last Sunday of the month with the next session tomorrow at 6 p.m. Visit cnyartscenter.com for more information. The Red Room sessions at the Wooden Apple Farmstead are a time for songwriters, musicians, and anyone else who wants to build their musical skill and knowledge to get together. We share songs we are working on, bounce musical ideas off each other, and we usually have time to just play a little music. This is a supportive environment where all levels of songwriting and musical experience are welcome. The next session is tomorrow at 6 p.m. For more information, visit Wooden Apple Farmstead on Facebook or call 315-591-0711.
We're going to bring Kate and Melanie back up. Not back up.
We haven't been up.
They haven't
before.
been up yet.
We've been on the bench.
They've been warming the bench. So we're going to bring Kate and Melanie up now because they're done making drinks.
Yes.
And I'm going to start by asking you how long Black Creek Cafe has been. Well, I was going to say in this building, but how long has it been?
Since December 7th.
Yeah?
Yeah,
In
since
total,
December
like you didn't
7th.
move here from another building.
Nope.
You just took
We
this
started
building
from scratch right here.
on December 7th.
December 7th.
That's
we
awesome.
took the paper off the window.
2014.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So it hasn't even been a year yet.
I know.
Okay.
We're still babies.
You are still babies and wonderful babies. This establishment has gone from infancy to teenage, at least, I think, in less than a year.
Is that what we're suffering from? Teenagehood.
That's what's happening. The business hormones.
Puberty.
Yeah,
Puberty.
business puberty. Every time you open the door, it's voice cracks. I heard
That's
it
right.
earlier.
Yes. That would be the 18-wheelers going by.
Yeah, yeah. I did notice those too. This is such a comfortable place that when we got here, there was a gentleman sleeping on the bench
It's true.
right outside the door. I was like, yeah, this is the place I want to be.
Normally he's probably on the couch.
Yep.
Yeah.
But he was delivered a suitcase, so I don't think he's allowed on the couch anymore.
No.
And he decided he shouldn't sleep on the bench anymore, and he moved on. But I thought, man, yeah, like this is the kind of joint I want to hang out.
Yeah.
And then we walk in, and they start talking about getting sconed, and I was like, yeah, even more so, I want to hang out here.
Uh,
So what made you want to open the place?
You?
No.
No? Plan probably H.
Okay.
Plan H.
Plan H.
This was Plan H.
Yeah.
You know, going through life and having some unexpected things happen. And somebody had asked me over dinner, one of my older friends who said, I'm that short. I'm becoming my father. Okay. And there we go. Is that better?
That's better
Can you
for
see me now? Can
Yes,
you hear me
but
now? Okay.
Yep. There it is.
And so we had said, you know, she said, well, okay, I was in a PhD program. And she said, you know, okay, if you're lucky enough to beat the younger kids on tenure, and then if you're lucky enough to get that position in 20 years from now, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to open up a coffee shop. And anybody else, it wouldn't have made any difference. But coming from her, it meant a lot. She said, well, what are you waiting for?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then the rest was a nightmare for Kate, because that's all I started talking about was opening up a coffee shop.
Yes. Good
Which
for
I
you.
don't know if that's worse or better than talking about women's history 24/7, but, you know.
I don't know. I think
Is it
we could
worse
do
or
both.
better?
I was going to ask what your doctorate was in, but it's not in making scones. You're not like a doctor of
I
baking.
am. You do have to go to school to make scones. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's why I'm not making scones.
No, see, you got to come here.
I have to come
Get
here.
sconed
Yeah,
properly.
right. Yes, properly.
Pumpkin spice, you know, the whole,
Nice.
you know.
Is that what the gentleman on the bench had, was the pumpkin spice scone?
He probably went really crazy and had the basil thyme, the savory scone.
Yeah.
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 That would
yeah.
push you right over the
He
edge.
was
Yep.
definitely sconed.
He definitely was sconed. It looked like basil thyme. Now that you bring it up, yeah.
It's always the quiet ones.
Yeah,
Have you noticed that,
I
Matt? It's
do.
always the quiet
I
ones.
do notice. So you've been here less than a year,
Less than a year.
and you have... Okay, so I'm going to point out the things that I find remarkable.
Okay.
Okay? So you've been here less than a year, and you've completely decorated, which to me is a really big deal.
Yes.
I wouldn't have never... I mean, I don't know if it's complete to you, but it's very nicely decorated and furnished. Yeah, I didn't want to get out of my chair. Your chair. I didn't want to get out of your chair.
The chair's for sale.
can be
so
yours.
It
What?
can be yours. You didn't plan on that, did you, Matt? We've been up since 5 o'clock, so we're a
Yeah.
little, you know.
The hits just keep on coming.
I know,
This is
bazinga.
nice. Yeah, bazinga for sure. And speaking of that kind of language, I still, every time I show up here, I have to say things that are not public radio appropriate because you have this really awesome root beer sign hanging in the window.
Yes, we do.
You never have the root beer. It
You-
goes
you
so
didn't
quick.
Come on that day.
I don't. The one day it gets
You were
delivered
supposed
and
to
then
come
it's
on
gone.
Tuesday. You didn't come.
I didn't come on
She
that
was ready.
Tuesday. Yeah,
She was
I
ready.
know. My son and I went on a backpacking trip, and we were supposed to stop here to get root beer. And
Sprecker's
Right,
root
that's
beer.
right.
yeah,
The problem is that to get it delivered, we have to order 8 cases of root
Okay.
beer. That's a lot of root beer.
that's a lot of root beer.
And I don't, quite frankly, we're kind of small, so I don't know where we'd put it. So Kate goes down to this special plant down in Syracuse, smuggles her way in, bribes the secretary, and smuggles it into the car, covers it up, and brings it up in dark.
I like it.
Yes.
In the dark.
In the dark.
Yeah, one bottle at a time.
One bottle.
Like,
The problem is people reserve it ahead of time, so we
right.
can't just, you know, we've given it as a birthday present once.
Yeah.
We've given it in a brown paper bag so that someone's husband didn't realize that she had it. It's a problem.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a problem I'd like to have. So we'll have to talk about your
I've
next
seen
root beer
somebody come in
delivery.
and down 2, right? One after another.
Holy cow! And you let them
Yeah.
drive out of here?
Yeah. And
Holy
she's here
mackerel.
tonight.
Yeah.
Holy cow!
She's actually here tonight.
It wouldn't be the woman that's very red right now, would it? It's warm in here, isn't it, Miss? Yeah. So okay, so you do everything in house, like you're baking,
For
and
the most part.
yeah, for the most part. Okay, so you were at the Mexico festival,
Yes, we were. It was great.
and you had a ton of stuff at your
We did.
table.
We did.
And that was one of the things I wanted to ask you about because I don't think all of that stuff was yours, and I'm wondering if,
No.
like, what are you doing? Like, you had like vegetables and all sorts of cool stuff. Are you doing collaboration or a co-op or something, or tell us more about what was happening?
We try to highlight everything that's in Oswego County as much as possible. So the produce you saw is organic and comes from Freedom Rains Farm. It was picked that morning just for that event. And then the breads that we get are from Cranberry Ridge Farm up in Williamstown. And we ordered that 2 days before, and we picked it up. It was still hot.
It was.
That morning. And then the teas are all ours that we get, that we special order. Those are organic. And our coffee comes from Taste the World in Oswego.
Nice.
And then some of the craft things like the jams and the tea cozies and things like that, those are all by Oswego County artists.
And let's not forget Mary, who makes the pesto.
Mary's new. Mary's just come from Grindstone Farm, and
Oh.
she makes all organic pestos.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we
Which are
convinced her, we
delicious.
bribed her. We said, "Oh,
That's
we're
what's up there.
Italian. We need more garlic." So she made a garlic lover's pesto. It's phenomenal.
I bet it is.
Yeah, it's really good.
What's the kind that you have on the counter right now?
That's the garlic.
Yeah, I
lover's
was gonna
pesto.
say,
Yeah,
man, that's
for
awesome.
Italians,
That
yeah.
garlic was so
all the
good.
Italians in the audience are very happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not even Italian, but I loved it. I still
very
do.
good.
I'm still loving it.
See?
Yeah. Every time, whoever uses this mic after me probably won't love it very much.
No. Well,
But
they
it's
won't
really
be
good.
Italian, so you
Right.
you have to have a certain
Yeah.
affection for garlic.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Poor folks.
There will be the garlic.
That's the garlic. Yeah, smooth. So there's a whole bunch of things on your menu, and I remember when we were here during the closed mic session that we had.
Oh yeah, closed mic.
Yeah, it was a private,
private.
non-musical,
Very private.
no
Shut the door.
microphones. Yeah,
That's
we
right.
shut
we
the
were
door.
plotting, if I believe.
We were plotting a ton, and it's working out really nicely so
It's
far.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those of you that are listening, that was a high five that you just heard. Yeah, that
Yeah, it
was
wasn't
nice.
the garlic.
It wasn't the garlic. No, it was a high five. Those quiet ones. So you do a lot of experimenting
Yeah.
with your food. With your
Yes.
food, yeah.
That would be the scones.
The scones,
Experimenting
yeah.
with
There
the
was there was
scones.
scone experimenting that
That's
happened when
definitely
we
gonna
walked
be a
in.
T-shirt. We've already talked about it over
Yes.
dishes. It's gonna be a T-shirt.
I think I just need to quit everything I'm doing and go into business, like making slogans for folks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Scones.
Sconed, yeah. We should talk about that because I'm going to get T-shirts made up that say Funder too. That's a new one that
That
I
would be
made,
good.
combining fun and wonder. But we'll talk another time about that. So because I think things that happen here is Funder. You're getting a lot of Funder here, yeah. So you're open 6 days a week,
Yes.
right? Let me get this right. Tuesday through Sunday.
No.
No,
No.
Monday through Saturday.
No more cappuccino for you.
Monday
No.
through Saturday.
Monday through Saturday.
Monday
Yeah, that's
through
right.
Saturday.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
We took Sunday. We originally were open on Sundays because we had a wonderful little family
Right.
that was coming in with their babies, and they didn't. They moved, and then so we could make Sundays for our son Joshua. So
Nice.
Sundays became Sundays.
Right.
Fun day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun day. Yeah.
Yeah, those were fun.
Nice. So give us your hours real quick.
We are open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay.
If you come by in the morning and you're lucky enough that I got here on time, the lights are on. That means that there's coffee.
Okay.
There might not be a scone, but there will be coffee.
All right.
And then Saturdays we're open from 8 to 6,
Okay.
unless there's a special event. We're very flexible.
Like tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, like tonight.
Yeah. This is great.
Normally we're home watching Madam Secretary.
Nice. But tonight.
Tonight we're here. This is
This is
much better
special.
than politics.
Okay. I'll take it. I'll take it. I agree. So for everybody that's listening, for those of you that are here, I want to thank you for being here, and I want to thank you for showing up. This is really cool. This is a very welcoming, comfortable space, and I'm really glad that we were able to come out and not only meet you that night that we were here for the open mic, but to be able to work this out and start seeing you around the community more. It's really awesome. So thanks for being a part of the community and making a space for the community to do. You guys host so many things, and you let people use your space.
Yeah, we're a community cafe. So
Yeah.
this is the community center. That's the coffee shop.
That's right.
That's right.
That's so neat.
You just have to, get along with everybody.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Get
and
an app, get a book, free books.
yeah. See, I can't imagine people not getting along in this place.
I know.
It's pretty sweet.
You know, there's a scone for that.
Right. Right. Conflict.
Chocolate espresso.
Oh yeah. The conflict
They'll take care
resolution
of that.
scone. I
That's
like
right.
that. Yeah, man. I dig it. So anyway, I want to thank Melanie and Kate
Thank
for
you.
being here and creating this space. And we'll be in touch again more and more, especially about root beer.
We'll get in lots of trouble.
All right.
We'll be
All
powered by root beer.
I dig it. Thanks.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Where's the harmonica?
So this is a song. This is a song that was written by the Bee Gees, and who doesn't love the Bee Gees? But this is a version done recently by Bruce Springsteen. So I copped a song by the Bee Gees, arrangement by Bruce, accompanied by Carl. All right, so here we go. Well, you can tell by the way I use my walk, I'm a woman's man, no time to talk. Music loud and women warm, I've been kicked around since I was born. Now it's alright, I'm okay, good to see another day. We can try to understand the New York Times effect on man. Whether you're a brother or whether you're a mother, you're staying alive, staying alive. Feel the city shaking and everybody breaking, and we're staying alive, staying alive. Staying alive, staying alive, staying alive. Now I get low and I get high, and if I can't get either, I get by. Got the wings of heaven in my shoes. I'm a dancing man and I just can't lose. Now it's alright, I'm okay. You may look the other way. We can try to understand the New York Times effect on man. Whether you're a brother or whether you're a mother, you're staying alive, staying alive. Feel the city shaking and everybody quaking, and we're staying alive, staying alive. Staying alive, staying alive. Going nowhere. Somebody help me. Somebody help me, yeah. Life's going nowhere. Somebody help me, yeah. Now you can tell by the way I use my walk, I'm a woman's man, no time to talk. Music loud and women warm, I've been kicked around since I was born. It's alright, I'm okay, I'll live to see another day. We can try to understand the New York Times effect on man. Whether you're a brother or whether you're a mother, you're staying alive, staying alive. In the city shaking and everybody quaking, and we're staying alive, staying alive. Staying alive, staying alive. Staying alive, staying alive, staying alive. Oh!
On the Porch Radio Hours, music director Gina Holsapple.
Little star before midnight. I closed my eyes as it went out, held my breath and took my swan dive, and the surface got deeper when the deeper came closer, and the sounds I heard were different than the noises that the most heard. So take this space and write me a love letter. Take my hands and tell me stories of the lands we traveled to. Take my eyes, I wanna see you. Take my mind, I wanna be with you for a moment, just a moment. A Sunday evening drive, the falcon flies outside my window. A month too long inside it. Just a word from you and we'll go to a distance that gets nearer when the nearer moves over. So take this space and write me a love letter. Take my hand and tell me stories of the lands we traveled to. Take my eyes, I wanna see you. Take my mind, I wanna be with you for a moment, just a moment. And I get so tired trying to hold these ends together, trying to keep this stride while I wait for clearer weather. Won't you take this space and write me a love letter? Take my hands and tell me stories of the lands we traveled to. Take my eyes, I wanna see you. Take my mind, I wanna be with you for a moment, just a moment. Won't you take this space and write me a love letter? Take my hands and tell me stories of the lands we traveled to. Take my eyes, I wanna see you. Take my mind, I wanna be with you for a moment, just a moment. A little star fell down just an hour before midnight. Thanks.
It's 1937. And although places like Tonkahogen were typically in what you would call a depression, there were several folks that lived in Tonkahogen that were really feeling the Great Depression. One of them being Mark Le Questionnaire. And Mark, like many other Tonkahogans, needed to be somewhere. He liked living there. He liked his view of the lake. He liked the legends and the people and the community. But there was something that was scratching at him that he couldn't figure out. And one night, while they were having a family get-together, and they would light the campfire, and they would all sit around and they would tell stories about their families, and they tried to make it feel as comfortable as possible. And they tried to make their food, what food they had, as fancy as possible, so that just for a couple hours, they didn't feel like they were living in depression. And it was one of Mark's older relatives that was telling a story about Mark's grandfather and how he used to hop trains and how he would make instruments out of things that he would find, and he would play them on train cars. And he would jump off in a town that looked like it might be promising. And he would follow those hobo pictographs that they would carve or paint or write on the sides of houses or buildings or street corners, so that he knew what places were safe for people to panhandle and busk and play for music on street corners, where he could get food and places he needed to avoid. Mark went to bed that night thinking about that, and he never went to sleep. So he got up before the sun did, and he grabbed what clothes he thought would be helpful, and he did that really classic move where he took his walking stick and tied an old shirt around the end of the walking stick and stuffed all of his clothes inside of it and threw it over his back, and he took off. And he hopped a train. And he ended up somewhere in the Midwest. What he didn't realize is that when that train stopped, that he was going to wake up in a completely different place than where that train had actually stopped. I mean, it was still the same place, geographically, but it was completely transformed overnight. He didn't realize that he had hopped. You really can't call it a circus train, but it was a train with carnival performers. And they preferred to be carnival performers and not circus performers. And every once in a while when Mark would go back home, he would try to explain it and never really could, but he knew it. This carnival would roll into town in the middle of the night. So when everybody got up the next morning and they went about their business and they went to work, or they went to the market, or they went out to their fields, where they had seen horizon the night before was all tents and smokestacks and fires. And around the edges, at sunrise, you would see little white figures dancing around the corners of these tents and dancing around the fires. And there was a really old burlap flag that had been sewn out of what looked to Mark like hundreds of coffee bags, and in all sorts of different languages. The name of this crew was painted out. And what looked like it had been hastily added right before they hung that flag up in smaller letters than the rest so that it would fit in that bottom corner. It said, "Carnival of the Dancing Skeletons." And Mark got close enough to see that these white figures dancing around the corners of these tents were people in costume, so they looked like skeletons. And there they were dancing completely freely. And as he was standing there transfixed and staring at the fires and at these dancing figures, he realized how silly he must look with a walking stick with an old shirt tied around the end and a bundle hung over his shoulder. Like how odd that is. And then he laughed at himself to think, I'm the thing that looks odd in this scene. But he loved it. He loved not standing out, but standing in and being part of that community, even though he had no idea what was happening. But he was mesmerized, and everything else around him seemed to fade away. There was no longer a depression. There was no longer unhappiness. There was no longer that hunger pang just eating away at him. There was no longer a dry mouth or burning eyes from missing sleep. There was no longer the smell of hay from the train car that he jumped in. And when he started to bring himself back, and he looked at what seemed to be a whole town that had gone up overnight, and he looked and realized that there was a skeletal hand on his shoulder. And there was one of the dancing figures, no longer dancing, but standing there, with its hand on his shoulder, as if they had shown up there together, as if they were friends and they were sharing the same moment, like this figure knew what Mark was thinking, like they'd had a conversation about it. 5 years later, Mark was standing in a very similar situation. But this time, the hand of that figure standing to his left was of the woman that he had fallen in love with and married while at the Carnival of Skeletons. While at the Carnival of Dancing Skeletons. The first time he saw her was that first night he was there. That blonde in the black and white striped sweater and the pink tutu and the tight black pants, and how she just flipped from one end of a tent to the other. And those flips were so fast and so brilliant that it looked like she never touched the ground. And still as he watched her and knew so much about her, he could swear that she never touched the ground. And she always would say to him, I don't touch the ground. And he was just starting to finally believe that. But there he stood, with this massive top hat and his big cloak, trying to figure out how, in that 5-year period, he became the ringmaster, the leader, the man that everybody looked to at the opening of this carnival, at the beginning of every new act. And he wasn't even sure how he did it himself, and he just would disappear from one tent and appear in the other and start introducing what was happening there so seamlessly. But that's what happened here. And every once in a while, when he would sneak back home to Tonkahogan to tell the family or friends or the community, it didn't feel the same. It felt like that world was slowly fading out of Mark's life, and this carnival of the dancing skeletons was becoming more and more his life. And it was. Because like so many other folks from Tonkahogan, he had been really searching for that place to belong. And he'd found it. And he would call out in that typical announcer voice, and everybody would stop. And they would stare. And he would point his finger, and a light would shine. And something miraculous would happen. And then the light would go out, and there he was pointing at another section where the light was now shining, and something new and miraculous was happening. And there was smoke. But Mark himself never knew where the smoke came from. It just happened. And somehow, after doing this night after night, in town after town, he still would fall asleep on the train car and wake up to a whole new tent city. He himself didn't know how this happened. And Mark has written letters home. And those letters are posted in that one-room Tonkahogan Historical Museum. And he tries to explain this magic and how he's part of the magic and part of the smoke. And they don't understand. So he never takes the train through his own town. But every night as he listens to that eerie music, every night as he watches his wife flip without ever touching the ground, and he watches things just appear and disappear, and he watches himself appear and just disappear, but his head always ends up in the hay. He never wanted a bed after that first night. He could easily buy one. He could probably just make one appear. But it was the hay. It was the smell of fresh hay. And he laughed every night as he fell into this dusty pile. Because another thing that he didn't know was why they even had hay. There was no animals in this carnival. But it was like this train was just made for him and waiting for him to climb inside, bundle up a ball of hay and lay his head on it. And the same thing happens every night. He knows that that city disappears, and he knows that it'll be at a new town when he wakes up the next morning. And he massages his face, and then he washes it with cold, cold water. And he dries off the rest of his face, except for his eyelashes. His eyelashes stick closed in the cold water. And there's a light breeze that comes through the crack under the train car door. And he smiles, and he thinks of Tonka Hogan. And he sings the town song and makes it his own as he falls asleep. This is my home. This is my only home. This is the only sacred ground that I have ever known. Should I stray in the dark night alone? Rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden. Rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden. Well, you've done it again, friends. You've made it to the end of another episode of On the Porch Radio Hour. And I first want to thank everybody that's still sitting in the Black Creek Cafe and listening and being a part of the show. Thank you for making yourselves comfortable. I want to thank Melanie and Kate for making such a comfortable place for people to come and hang out and for things like this to happen. And I sure hope that at some point this winter, I have this vision of lights in the windows and people coming in and shaking off the cold and ordering a warm drink and listening to more live recordings of On the Porch Radio Hour. Yeah. So thanks for making this happen. And I want to thank Bob and Carl. And I want to thank them for singing and being part of the fun before the show. I really appreciate that. It was nice to have people to hang out with and chat with and cause problems with. It was a lot of fun. I want to thank everybody that was listening on Concert Window and everybody that's listening to our archived stuff. And I also want to invite you to come join us next Thursday because we're going to be recording live again in public. We're not going to be at the farm again next Thursday, but we're going to be at the Farmers Market in Oswego. It's officially Irish night at the Oswego Farmers Market. So we're going to be having a ton of fun. There's going to be skits. There's going to be laughter. There's going to be stories. There's going to be music. And there's going to be a ton of people. So thanks for being here. Thanks for thinking about going there. And until next time, peace to your journey. Oh, do you know what I never did?
On the Porch is a production of the Wood and Apple Farmstead, with host and writer Matthew Wood. Our sound technician and musical director is Gina Holsappa. Our stage manager is Ray Monet. This week's guests, live from Black Creek Cafe and Treasures in Mexico, New York, include Melanie Cotillo, Kate Cotillo, Carl Black, and Bob Freeman. Find information about past shows, being on the porch, and much more online at ontheporch.weebly.com.
So the one thing that I forgot to do was to explain to you who we are. So Gina and Renee and I own a farm in Clermont, and we, through our work as artists and musicians, have found that people locally in Oswego County don't fully recognize all of the time all of the really great people and businesses and artists and musicians and things that schools are doing. So we wanted to have a venue where we could help support